The media will tell you that right-wing extremism is on the rise in Portugal. They will tell you that populism is taking over. Is that true? I don't know. But we're going to try to find out. My name is Howie. This is Positively Portugal. Let's get into it. On March 10th, Portugal held their elections. To be honest, I don't know what they were voting for. I know that either the president or the prime minister stepped down due to corruption, and they were also voting for a new assembly. The assembly has 230 members. It sounds to me what the American Congress is. American Congress has two houses, I believe a total of 435, maybe 535 people. I think the 435 is in the House of Representatives. Of course, the Senate has 100. So I guess there's some similarities. But what we saw was the rise of a third party in Portugal called Chega. Chega has been vilified as fascists. Their supporters have been called xenophobic and right-wingers. But we don't really know anything about Chega. We don't know if this is true or not. You know, what we find here in the United States is that anybody who is the tiniest bit left of a socialist, tiniest bit right of a socialist, gets labeled as a fascist. That could be the case in what's going on in Portugal, but maybe Chega is like what Spain's Vox party is. For those of you who don't know, Vox is a right-wing party with some very questionable, and that's putting it nicely, some very questionable policies on their platform, or opinions, if not policies. They're not setting any policies because Vox isn't winning anything in Spain. But we're going to find out what Chega is, but in order to do that, before we talk about their platform, we're going to look at who the political parties in Portugal are. In the last assembly, the leading party was PS. Let's see what PS stands for. Oh, look at that. PS stands for Socialist Party. Partido Socialista. Imagine that. A party of socialists calling non-socialists xenophobic. Well, in second place, we have the PSD. The Social Democratic Party. This sounds a lot like the PS, if you ask me. Well, third place in that election was Chega, but they only had 12 seats in the assembly. This time around, they had won a total of 48. So Chega became 4 times bigger than they were in the previous election. Okay. Next up, we have the IL. Liberal Initiative. That's what that stands for. Interesting. Well, we're going to go back here because we have some more parties. PCP, I think I know what that stands for, don't you? The Portuguese Communist Party. We really don't seem to have a lot of variety in Portuguese politics, I'm finding out. Okay, next up is the BE. Let's see what that is. The Left Bloc. We have quite a few parties here calling Chega xenophobic and fascist. Well, we had PAN, or PAN, P-A-N. Let's see what this is. People, Animals, Nature. That's a political party? Okay. And the final party involved in the last assembly was LIVRE. Let's see who they are. Trying to manipulate my iPad here with my right hand while being left-handed because I'm holding my phone to record this in my left hand. So LIVRE. I'm not reading this. I don't know what this stands for, but it says here in Wikipedia that LIVRE is a green political party in Portugal. Well, you have 7 parties here who all kind of sound the same. It's like a 7-member uniparty that's ganging up on the one party that does not consider themselves to be socialist or communist or green or people and animals and nature and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So we're kind of seeing why Chega has gotten vilified. But now what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about Chega. Let's talk about their ideology. I'm not going to go into the history of Chega. Chega is only 5 years old, by the way. They were founded in 2019. So we're going to talk here about the ideologies of Chega. And yeah, April 12th, 2019 was the date that they were founded. I just want to double check myself. Wait, no, I apologize. Chega is a little bit over 5 years old. They were founded in 2017, excuse me. Well, at least that's when Andre Ventura was a candidate for mayor in Laurus. So sometime between 2017 and 2019, Chega was founded. We're not going to get into the semantics of this. Okay, and on Wikipedia, I just found the date, April 9th, 2019. So a little bit less than 5 years old. So the ideology of Chega. Chega considers itself a party with nationalist, conservative, and personalist roots. It defends the promotion of an effective judicial system and the decrease of the state's intervention in the economy. The party also presents itself as national conservative and social conservative. Well, this doesn't sound like the worst thing in the world. I think you want to have the government involved as little as possible in terms of the economy. You know, the Portuguese economy is not exactly a model of stability right now. I mean, really, it never has been. The only thing that concerns me a little bit, the term social conservative, that sounds to me that, you know, if you're an alternative lifestyle, like let's say you're homosexual, you may not be endorsed by this or embraced by this. I don't know. There's no examples of this. At least none listed. You know, there's no, in this article that I'm reading on Wikipedia, which by the way is a left-wing outlet, there's no section for controversies exactly. There are footnotes, but to me, if it's not strong enough to be its own section, I'm not reading your footnotes. That's crazy. You're looking, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You know, you're looking for problems. So the agenda of Chega is heavily focused on criminality issues, support for the police forces of the country, and the misuse of taxpayers' money in terms of corruption at the top, overstaffing in the civil service at the middle, and underserving or undeserving welfare recipients at the bottom. Well, this sounds like common sense to me. You talk about corruption at the top, either the president or prime minister, whichever one of them, in Portugal just resigned because of corruption, which led to these votes, to this election. So this makes sense. I'm not seeing a problem with that. Moving on. The party advocates for a decrease of the tax incidence, considering the current tributary system to be brutal and aggressive to the ones who work and build wealth, taking away half of their incomes. It additionally defends a reduction of both bureaucracy and the number of bureaucrats, asserting that it is one of the main reasons for the Portuguese competitive economic backwardness. Well, that's true. I mean, you can't tax a nation into wealth. And a lot of people in Portugal, they're losing half of their salary to taxes. Now, you know, granted, you have the healthcare system, which doesn't charge anyone anything. But does that equal out half of your income? I don't know. I'm not here to make a judgment on this. The party supports life imprisonment and chemical castration. Some members also support the death penalty for crimes such as terrorism or child abuse. In a 2020 party referendum, 44% voted in favor. Well, again, now we're talking about common sense. Now, I'm sorry, if you don't support life imprisonment and chemical castration for rape, sexual assault, terrorism, or child abuse, you need to take a long, hard look at yourself. Hell, for the cases of rape and sexual assault, and terrorism and child abuse, I wholeheartedly support the death penalty. I personally know survivors of rape and sexual assault. And you know what that is? It's an attempt of murder. Because for a lot of women who get raped and sexually assaulted, well, it kills them on the inside. The people I know, I don't want to say they've bounced back. I don't like speaking for others, but they're strong enough to continue. I don't know what they feel at night when they're alone. I don't know how often they think about what happened. It's not my business. God knows I'm never going to ask them. But to me, if you're not for doing anything possible to either imprison or put to death rapists, child abusers, terrorists, you got some problems of your own. Describing itself a strong proponent of Western civilization, the party positions itself against Islamic extremism and proposes stronger border controls and a decrease of mass and illegal immigration. Again, this is common sense to me. I don't exactly see where the right-wing extremism here is. It has also been described as anti-Zionist. That's a word you don't hear often. The party supports integration measures for immigrants and states that all immigrants and foreign residents should be obliged to respect our rules, rights, customs, and traditions. Well, yes, I support that as well. How many times on this channel have I said to learn the Portuguese language, to attempt to learn the Portuguese language? Show respect to the host country, to the host people that are allowing you to live with them. Portugal is possibly the most phenomenal society that I have ever experienced. I love everything about Portugal. And although I'm not fluent in Portuguese, you can rest assured that I am busting my ass trying to become fluent. I don't know if I'll ever reach that, to be honest with you. But if you think I'm ever going to go to Portugal, even in the most heavily English-speaking districts, like in the Algarve, in Lisbon, if you think I'm going to start a conversation with anybody in English, you got another thing coming. My Portuguese may not be great, but I'm never not going to show Portuguese people the respect of beginning a conversation in their own language. Moving on. It also supports bilateral agreements and limited immigration from former Portuguese colonies, such as Brazil, Portuguese-speaking African countries, Macau, and East Timor, while taking a more critical stance on non-Western immigration. It also calls for a zero-tolerance policy on illegal immigration and for the deportation of immigrants with criminal records or those who are economically inactive. It is also opposed to multiculturalism and the practice of Sharia law within the Portuguese legal system, but also claims to reject xenophobia on its platform. All right, well, the one problem I can see happening here is trying to limit immigration from the former Portuguese colonies. That can open up a whole can of worms. I'm not going to say they shouldn't. I would just be very careful. I'd tread lightly on the way that they go about that. But putting a stop to illegal immigration, yeah, of course you should. Most countries are countries of laws, so don't break the law. This is not groundbreaking here. This is, for the most part, common sense. And, you know, I don't know what it means to reject multiculturalism. I think it's great to celebrate all cultures, to be honest with you, or most cultures. But to reject Sharia law, well, yes, again, common sense. Sharia law should not be practiced. I mean, plain and simple. Chega's stance on the European Union has been described as Eurosceptic. The party states that it supports the original four freedoms principle of a free movement of goods, capital, services, and people among member states, but argues for a Europe of sovereign nations united by shared Greco-Roman and Judeo-Christian principles, and opposes interference into national political decision-making within member states by the EU. It also calls on Portugal to pursue more independent foreign and economic policies from Brussels and rejects compulsory EU migrant and refugee quotas. Furthermore, the party also argues that Portugal should exit the EU if it tries to become a federal state. Well, okay, they're in favor of free trade throughout the EU. Makes sense. I mean, that's kind of what the EU is about, I would think. I'm not crazy about bringing up the whole Judeo-Christian principles thing, but that's just me. I'm an atheist. I don't, sorry, I'm just not a believer. I get it, though. Portugal is a very Catholic country, and I guess that appeals to many Portuguese people. Again, that's not up for me to make a judgment on. Leaving the EU if it becomes overbearing, well, okay, yeah. In many ways, that's what the United States is about. I mean, look at the name there, the United States of America. I can tell you that there's no country more divided than the United States. We have different cultures within the country. There's, I guess you could say, 50 different cultures. Really, no two states are alike. There are similarities, of course, between states, but, take, for example, Florida, where I live, versus California. Yeah, great climates, almost perfect weather in both states, but, very different people, very different cultures. So, have we learned anything about Chega? Yeah, we've learned that they're not socialists. They don't really adhere to that kind of belief. They don't at all, actually. Have we learned that Chega is racist, xenophobic, fascist? No, we haven't. I mean, sure, I guess supporters of the former dictator Antonio Salazar would be more drawn to Chega as opposed to socialism and communism, but that doesn't make the party fascist or Nazis or xenophobic. The truth of the matter is we've learned nothing. And what does this mean for you? Are you like me, where you're in the process of legally immigrating to Portugal? Well, if you are, I can tell you now that the three main parties, the PS, the PSD, and Chega, there's so much friction now between the three parties. There's not going to be any coalitions to get anything accomplished, and many people are already predicting that there's going to be another election in 2024. So nothing's going to get done, and if nothing gets done, nothing is going to change. So what I would tell you is if you're in the process of legally immigrating to Portugal, continue to do so. There's an excellent chance, there's a better than excellent chance that not a damn thing is going to change. And ultimately, what we all need to stop doing is vilifying one another. We haven't found anything that outright calls Chega, that would define them as xenophobic, as fascist, as Nazis. And that being said, nobody supporting Chega should go around and start name-calling people who believe in the PS or the PSD or people and animals and nature and all that. Let's just stop the name-calling. Let's try to live together, to get things done, to progress. And who knows? Maybe good things will happen eventually. So that's all I got for you this time. I know this is not a comfortable video to watch. It's not a comfortable video to make. But you're better off hearing it from me as opposed to somebody else who may have an agenda, which is the majority of YouTube's Move to Portugal community. So until next time, my name is Howie, and I want to thank you for watching.